What is the date? Is often a question asked in our day-to-day life. But how would a person in ancient Greece answer this question? Well, we should first establish that there wasn't a single Greek calendar used universally throughout the Greek world. This was because Greece itself was splintered into many individual city-states, polis, which were further divided by subcultures and political leagues. Each of them adopted their own calendars, so we will focus on the Athenians and discuss the Attic calendar. The Attic calendar was, in fact, two calendars, the civic democratic calendar and the festive calendar. We'll first look at the civic democratic calendar. As the name entails, it was used mostly for bureaucracy and the running of the democracy. The Athenian democracy functioned in many divisions of 10, for each of the 10 tribes of Attica, 10 generals, administrative boards of 10, etc. The Boule, or the Council of 500, was no different, with 10 lots of 50 members. The Boule had the role of choosing the agenda for debate in the assembly, amongst other responsibilities. Each of these groups of 50 were called a prytany, and for that reason this calendar is also known as the prytany calendar. Each year consisted of 10 months for 10 prytanies, with every month a new prytany taking the helm of the Boule. The order of the tribes were, like most things in democracy, chosen by lot. However, the length of each prytany was not exactly equal. The first 4 months were 36 days long, and the last 6 were 35 days long, with a total of 354 days to synchronize with the lunar calendar, which we will talk about later on. The civil democratic calendar was central to the function of the polis. The assembly would meet at least once a month, finances were centered around it, and it was used for political treaties and truces. However, the average person wouldn't likely refer to the date as this day in that prytany, but more than likely refer instead to the festive calendar. The festive calendar was used for the dating of festivals, with each of the 12 months being named after a major festival. The calendar was largely based on the lunar cycle, every month interchanged between a full 30 days and a hollow 29 days. It was a bit more of a conventional calendar, consisting of days, weeks, and months. There were 3 weeks a month, and fitting the Athenian trope, they were known as decades with 10 days. The first decade began with the new moon. Each day was counted up from the waxing moon. The next decade of the full moon was just counted normally. The final decade was either 9 or 10 days, depending on the month, and it would be counting down towards the waning moon, with the last night known as the Old and New Moon. An important feature to note about the festive calendar was that it wasn't completely lunar, but rather lunar-solar. The lunar year consisted of 354 days, yet the solar year consists of 365. As the years go by, the lunar year lags behind the seasons. To combat this, there was an extra month added to most lunar calendars to match with the seasons. However, for the civil calendar, days were added to extend the months. The Athenian reformer Solon in the 6th century added an extra month every other year, although this also resulted in a gap forming after a few years. Other methods of synchronizing the calendars were devised over the centuries, with the octateris cycle adding an extra month every 8 years, and the much more sophisticated Metonic cycle of 7 leap years in a 19-year cycle. However, the implementation of any of these solutions are poorly attested to in classical Athens. In practice, the eponymous archon would haphazardly insert a month every couple of years. The festive calendar became exceedingly complex, which wasn't helped by the rigidness of the festivals. Solon had also organized the festivals with the exact dates throughout the year, and they were literally set in stone. To change them was an affront to the gods, yet oftentimes the insertion of months didn't synchronize with the lunar cycle. The comedian Aristophanes joked that the calendar was so out of sync that the gods often went to bed without their dinner. Although this wasn't to say that there wasn't a concept of the years, just that adjusting them to the Julian calendar is often very difficult. There were a number of ways to have understood the years, either denoting it with an important event or counting it in the context of another. Of the 3 annual archons, the role of the eponymous archon was organizing the calendar and the festivals, and owing to their name, the year would be referred to as when X was Archon at Athens. However, the names of Archons were only effective if there was an Archon list handy, so other special events like solar eclipses or magistrates of other city-states might be used in conjunction. Another method was counting the years of the Olympiad, the period of 4 years between Olympic Games. The Olympic Games were held during the summer solstice and was a pan-Hellenistic game, which made it a reliable, datable event. The first Olympic Games were generally agreed to have been held on the summer solstice of 776 BCE. Each year was denoted as the years since the last Olympics and the current Olympiad. So, to answer our question, how would an Athenian answer, what is the date today? Well, if the date was the 6th July 371 BCE, then they might tell you that it was the 5th day of the waxing moon of the month of Hecatombaion, in the year when Pythias was Archon at Athens, or the first year of the 101st Olympiad, although they are just as likely to respond with Semera Ene Semera.